Oh, you made it. Oh, yes. I am so glad that you are here. My name is Tara Reed, and I am a tech entrepreneur. One of the things that I love to do is pour into people and really help them understand how to break into tech. Tech is kind of this thing where a lot of people get left out of it. A lot of people don't understand it. And so I'm really excited that you're here because I'm going to break down a lot of stuff for you in this class about tech, about apps, about how to come up with app ideas, about how to build them using this new technique that I'm going to show you where you don't have to be a computer genius to do this. It's really straightforward. And also how to make money with app ideas so that you can really grow and start a business in this digital economy using technology. So I'm super excited to talk to you about app ideas. Now, before we start, because I'm going to share my screen in a second, we're going to dive right in. I've jam-packed this with information for you, this class, this workshop. One thing I would ask is that you get comfortable. Sit down somewhere. It's kind of going to be easiest if you're watching this on your computer instead of your phone, if you can. Kind of just get comfortable, right? Also, if you want to get a glass of water, I've got mine here. Do what you need to do because this is going to be a really interactive workshop. What I mean by interactive is there's going to be a couple activities, things for you to jot down and do, things for you to think about. And I'm going to be showing you things you've never seen before. So I recommend you get pen and paper before we start, like a notebook or piece of paper, something to get started with. And I'll pause for a second while you get set up with that. Get somewhere comfortable, close extra tabs so you're not distracted, get somewhere to write notes because you're gonna really you're gonna have a page full of notes in a minute of things that you need to be thinking about, things that are gonna really help you and expand your mind when it comes to creating a business on the internet using apps. And I want to take all of my experience as a tech entrepreneur working at Google and Foursquare and Microsoft and these big tech companies and launching my own apps. And I'm going to give you all of the knowledge you need. So get a pen and paper. I'll wait for you for a second so you can get that, so you can take notes. No, really, you're going to want to take notes. Get the pen and paper. I'll pause for a second. As you are going to get that, I'm going to share my screen because I've put together a whole workshop and class for you on how to launch and make money with an app idea in 2022. That's what we're talking about today. And I'm going to walk you through every single piece of this so that you have a page full of notes and lots of clarity by the time this class is over. So just to introduce myself, my name is Tara Reed and I am a tech entrepreneur. Before becoming an entrepreneur, I used to lead marketing initiatives at Google, Foursquare, and Microsoft. So my background is in working at tech companies, but I was not the one who was coding the apps and making the apps myself. I was on the business side. So in 2014, I founded a really successful art startup, and I built this algorithm to match people to artwork based on their taste. And so I built that company's app and algorithm without writing any code. I did not know how to create an app. I had never created an app before. I didn't know how to do computer coding. I was in the same spot as likely you are. And I still built this app and successful startup around the app in 2014. And so the process that I used of coming up with an app idea, of building the app idea without hiring a bunch of tech people to help me, and then of charging people real money to use the app, that process that I use in my first year got me $150,000 in revenue, just the first year. And in that same first year, $300,000 from investors writing checks who said, we love this idea. Here's a check. We want to see you take this to the next level. We want to be part of this. And so since then, I've been super blessed to be featured in some awesome publications. Entrepreneur Magazine has featured me in their Young Millionaires edition. Forbes has done some really fun articles on how to succeed in Silicon Valley when you don't look like Mark Zuckerberg. And I've also done a really fun TED Talk that now has 500,000 views on building apps without code, where I show people this new way that you can build an app. And that's all what I'm going to show you in this workshop today. So I taught myself. I had to figure this all out. It took me years to teach myself this process, this new way of building apps. And so I'm so excited that I get to share this with you. You're getting ready to have a bunch of notes to take because I'm going to break this down. So you ready? Can I break this down? Here's what I'm going to be talking about and really teaching you and sharing with you how to launch and make money with your app idea in 2022, how to come up with an app idea, how to build it without a bunch of tech people, and how to charge people money to use your app. So here's an overview. This is our syllabus for this workshop. This is our syllabus. Secret number one that you're going to learn, how to come up with a strong app idea in 15 minutes. Cool. That's the first thing. If you want to write that down on a piece of paper, that's the first thing that you're going to expect to learn today. Secret number two, how to build an app yourself without a bunch of tech people. And then secret number three, how to charge $50 a month or more for your app idea. Do you want to write those things down for each of the three secrets we're going to be covering and then take notes underneath that? That's what we're going to be doing in this class. Just like to be transparent and upfront. And I have a training program that I do. It's like an 8-week training program where I get to work directly with entrepreneurs on their app ideas. I just wanted to show you kind of what's possible for you. This is Dana. Dana is an entrepreneur who's gone through my 8-week training program. And so Dana says, I just closed my first revenue generating partnership for my app. It's continuously passive income to my startup. And whoop, whoop, this is probably what I look like doing my dance real life. This is the article on Dana. It says by Forbes. Forbes wrote an article on her after she built her app. She had never built an app before. And it says how one former Wall Street investment advisor is disrupting the finance industry with her new platform. Cool, right? So this is what's possible for you once you've learned this stuff. Cool. All right. How to come up with a strong app idea, how to build it yourself, and also how to charge people money to use your app idea. So we're going to dive right into this. Secret number one, how to come up with a strong app idea in 15 minutes. Let's talk about this. And to introduce you to this concept, I'm going to introduce you to my SMART idea formula. What the heck is a SMART idea formula? Well, a SMART idea formula is a series of questions that you can ask yourself to help you brainstorm an app idea that you are already 100% qualified to build. 100% qualified to build. So to give you a little snippet of how this works, I want to introduce you to Josh. Josh is another entrepreneur I've had the pleasure of coaching. And when I sat down to work with Josh on his app idea, we went through the SMART idea formula to come up with an app idea in the first place. So it was just questions for him to brainstorm. The first question that I asked him was, what do you do for work? And he was like, well, I'm a music teacher. I want you right now on your piece of paper where you're taking your notes, I want you to write down what you do for work. If you're in between jobs, you can write that. If you're a full-time parent, you can write that. That's totally fine, but write down what you do for work. And then I asked Josh a second question. And my second question to him was, tell me one thing that you spend a lot of time or effort on at work. A lot of time or effort. And Josh was telling me, well, I go and I teach music classes after school at different schools. And so I've got to drive back and forth to each of the schools. I can only be in so many places at once. I can only be at one school at a time. But the driving back and forth, the traveling back and forth to middle schools to teach music classes, that takes up a lot of time, right? I want you on your piece of paper to write down one thing that you spend a lot of time or effort on at work. Everybody has this. It's like the thing that's just like, oh, I got to do this part again. It takes so much time. It's so tedious. It's so manual. Write down that thing that kind of takes a lot of time or effort when it comes to your job. Write it down on your piece of paper. Because then I asked Josh a third and final question. I said, okay, let's just brainstorm now. Let's say you built an app to alleviate some of that stress, the stress that you just told me about. What could happen when someone logs in the app? What could the app do? And he was like, okay, I'm not really sure, but let me brainstorm here. Maybe students could log into the app and they could complete lessons, like the same lessons that I was going to go and teach them in person. They could see and complete the lessons inside the app. And they could work in teams with each other to compose songs, like drag and drop and compose songs inside of the app. And the teachers could see the songs that they composed and the assignments and lessons that they did, and they could give grades for it. And I could take this app and I could like sell it to the schools. So instead of me having to be there in person every time, they could just open up the app, open up the computer, and the students could all be working inside of it. And I can be in a bunch of schools at once instead of just one at a time. We were just brainstorming. Right? But this is a true story. Josh built an app for schools to teach music classes, and he has 23 schools in the state of Virginia who have signed up for their students to use this app. So he's done $30,000 in revenue. He's done an additional $50,000 from investors who said, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. Here's a check. We want to see you take this to the next level. And he did all of that in 6 months. So Josh says this app is definitely a revenue generating endeavor. I did not know it would grow as quickly as it did. We got television and radio interviews in the process. It's been a blessing. Cool. All right. So here's what I want you to do. We already talked about for your smart idea formula, the first two questions. You wrote down, what do you do for work? And you also wrote down something that you spend a lot of time or effort on at work, right? So the third thing that I want you to write down is, well, this is the third one. Let's say you built an app to alleviate some of that stress. What could it do? And to help you brainstorm this, I want to show this screen to you around things that apps commonly do. So I want you to write down the number. I'm going to walk through each of these, but I want you to write down the number on your piece of paper of which of these things your app could do to solve the problem that you told me about, the thing that's hard or time consuming. And it can be a combination of these numbers. Probably you want to limit it to maybe 3 main things that it does, but 1 to 3 main things. So the first things that apps commonly do is they recommend things. Think like Tinder, for example, or dating apps. They recommend dates for you. Right? You put in information about what you're looking for, and it gives you recommendations. Number 2, the second thing that apps commonly do is they give people a directory of resources. Think like Yelp, where there's all kinds of businesses, all kinds of restaurants, all kinds of services you can scroll through, and it's a directory of resources. That's what the app does. Or number 3, a common thing that apps do is they let people buy and sell things from each other. Think Airbnb, think OfferUp, think even Kickstarter. Right? Where you're exchanging money to each person, kind of buying and selling or renting things from each other or donating things to each other. Number 4 is allowing people to connect socially in a community. Think Facebook, think Instagram, right? These social networks, right? That's something that your app can do, right? It can connect people together in a community. Or number 5, let people track something, right? Think about Fitbit, for example. It lets you track your steps or track your health. Or even like Salesforce, which you may have heard of, which allows you to track your sales, track your business progress, right? So that's number 5. Number 6 is to let people book a service and then track the progress of that service. Think like Uber, where you book the service and then you can track the progress of that service. Or even the UPS or FedEx app, where you get a package and you can track the progress of that package, right? And number 7, the 7th thing that apps commonly do is they teach people something. There's lessons, videos, tutorials. Think about like masterclass.com, where you're learning things, and that's the main thing that the app does. So I want you to write down on your piece of paper which of these things your app could do to solve the problem you just told me about that happened at work, right? Because really the core of the smart idea formula, the idea behind the smart idea formula is that you take something that you already know something about. You already have an advantage over me, over everybody else in this class, because you already know something about that topic, about that area. And that's what's so cool about the smart idea formula. You already get a leg up. You already get an advantage, because even if you're not the world's biggest expert on it, you know more than a lot of people. Right? Let me give you one other example of how the smart idea formula works. And to show you this, I want to introduce you to Carlos. He's another entrepreneur I've had the pleasure of coaching. So when I sat down to work with Carlos, we went through his smart idea formula as well, but we focused it in on what he does for a hobby, not what he does for work, but instead what he does for a hobby. Again, it's the same concept of taking something you already know something about and turning it into an idea that you're already sitting on. It's like a gold mine that you're sitting on right now. So when I asked Carlos these questions, my first question for him was, what's one thing that you do in your free time? If you want to do this activity too, I encourage you to write down on your piece of paper, what's something you do in your free time? Then I asked him a second question. I said, okay, well, what's one thing that's hard or time consuming about your hobby? So for Carlos, the thing that he does in his free time is he likes to play basketball. And the one thing that's hard or time consuming about his hobby of playing basketball, he was telling me, was sometimes he's got to figure out which courts are available to play. Sometimes he goes to a court and there's too many people. Sometimes there's not enough people for a good game. Sometimes the space and the court's not even available at all. And so figuring out where to go and what's available, that's something that's hard or time consuming about his hobby, right? And then I asked him the third and final question. I said, okay, let's say you built an app to alleviate some of that stress. What could happen when someone logs in? And he thought about it, he's just brainstorming, and he said, okay, Well, maybe gyms could let their members log in and they can see which courts are free, and then they can book the court in advance. And I could sell this to different gyms, and the gym could have their branding on the app, right? But it could be for their members to book in advance and see who's already going to be at the court and who's going to be where, and just to coordinate, right? And this is a true story. Carlos built an app for gyms to let people book basketball courts. And guess who his first customer was? Guess who? The YMCA, who said, yes, we love this idea. We're going to use it. We're going to pilot it in one of our locations to start. And then we're going to expand it. For that one pilot, the YMCA paid him $300 a month for that one location. And he did all of that in 4 weeks, like came up with the idea, built the app, and got the YMCA on board in 4 weeks. So you might be thinking, hey, Tara, thanks for showing me this. I love the idea of building an app. I love the idea of getting into technology, but I don't even know if I'm qualified to build an app. But the thing is that if you use the SMART idea formula, you're already qualified right now, because you're taking something you know something about. You don't have to be the world's biggest expert, but something you know something about. And you're asking yourself, well, what's hard or time consuming, and turning that into a solution for people, a solution that you can use, but also that other people can use. And that is secret number one, how to come up with a strong app idea in 15 minutes. Cool? Now, I mentioned I have my 8-week training program where I help people not only come up with their ideas, but really build through all the way end to end, actually build the app. So this is Renee. Renee's posting in the community of the entrepreneurs that I coach. And she says, great news. I signed 2 subscriptions yesterday for a total of $12,000. And I have a meeting next month to present to 30 schools. And I hope to get them all on board. I wouldn't have gotten this far without AWC Bootcamp. That's the name of my program. If you're wondering if this system works, when you work, it works. And it's kudos to, and she's saying thank you to all of her coaches and myself who worked with her on this. This is Sharon, similar, an entrepreneur that I coach. Sharon says, hey, everyone, here's my app. I'm still fine tuning, but it's working well. I met with 4 associations today, and I have a beta set up, like a first test set up with 2 for their upcoming meetings and members. And she's asking other people questions and kind of helping and getting help, right? So this is all what's possible for you. In fact, I'm going to actually drop a link right now. Let me see. Let me drop this link for you. Because if you would like to, this is kind of getting some ideas stirring in your head about what kinds of app ideas you can build. I want you to schedule some time to talk with me and my team about your app idea, to see if working with me makes sense, to see if actually building this thing makes sense. So I'm going to post a link into the chat for you to schedule some time, and we can talk about this a little bit more as well. But to go ahead and schedule some time, it is first come, first serve. Because I can't talk to everyone. But if you fill out the little form to book a time, kind of looks like this, something like this, to book a time that works for you, then it'll ask you just a couple questions, and you can schedule some time to talk with me and my team about your app idea, to get feedback on it, and to talk about if working with me and my team on actually bringing it to life makes sense. So putting that link in there for you, but we're going to keep moving on with the workshop, because secret number 1 was how to come up with an app idea. And I'm hoping that this is kind of giving you some creative ideas flowing. But secret number 2 is how to build an app yourself without hiring a bunch of tech people. Like, how do we actually make it? Because here's the thing. When most people come up with an app idea, they're like, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to hire an expensive agency to help me build the first version of my app. Is that you? Were you thinking you needed to hire an expensive agency to build this? Again, there's nothing wrong with taking this route. The only challenge is that if you want to build an app, if you want to hire someone to build an app for you, I don't know if you know this, but it costs on average $20,000 and up, depending on what you want to build, $20,000 and up to get an agency to build an app for you. I know that when I was starting, I was like, well, that's not an option. I don't have that kind of budget. So it's just really expensive to hire an agency to build an app for you. And for that reason, a lot of people have trouble. But other people are like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to hire an expensive agency. I'm not doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find a tech savvy business partner to help me. Have you thought that? Or you're like, okay, I got to find someone who's tech savvy to be my business partner. Again, there's nothing wrong with taking this route. The only challenge is that you don't want to rush this. Finding the right business partner is like finding the right person that you want to marry, and that if you guys are not on the same page, you could easily sink this ship, right? And so you don't want to rush this. And that's why sort of finding a tech-savvy business partner is often difficult for people. Now, other people are like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I need to do. I need to teach myself the basics of how to code in order to build an app. Have you thought that at all? Have you been thinking like, I got to learn how to code to make this thing? Again, absolutely nothing wrong with learning to code. The only challenge is that it's going to take at least 12 months of learning for you to get to the level of proficiency that you need in order to build the app idea that you have. And we know that in technology, things move fast. We don't have 12 months just to learn before you actually get going, launching stuff. Innovation happens fast. You don't know what's going to happen. Someone else will launch with it first. So we don't have 12 months just to learn before we can get started. And so for all of these reasons that I just mentioned, most people, they completely put their app idea on the back burner. You may have found yourself in this position where you're like, listen, I'm not a tech person. It's not possible right now. I'm just not going to do it right now. Right. This is where a lot of people find themselves. Right. But actually, you don't have to do any of the things that I just mentioned. You don't do any of those things. Actually, you can create apps by using code-free software. And let me show you what I mean by code-free software. So code-free tools and software work because they let you design apps by drag, drop, point, click, like you're making a PowerPoint presentation where you drag what you want onto the page. And then you logically tell the app what to do in English. You give the app instructions on what to do, but you give them instructions on English, which you already understand. You don't have to learn a whole new computer language. You just do it in English. So you build the app by drag, drop, point, click. You drag what you want onto the page, right? You drag a button, you drag a box, you just drag what you want onto the page. And then you tell the app what to do. So this is an example of dragging, drag, drop onto the page, just like that. And then you tell the app what to do in English. So the logic statement, if you want to write this down, the logic statement is the thing that tells the app what to do. The logic statement tells the app what to do. It's the instruction manual for it. Let me give you an example of a logic statement that you already understand. This is not difficult. If I push the first domino, then the other dominoes will fall. If this, then that. Easy. Let me give you another example. If the user clicks the button, then log them in. If this, then that. Y'all understand this? This is very clear. You understand this sentence. This is it. So my tip for you is to find logic-based software to build your app. This new type of software that allows you to give the app instructions in English instead of having to learn computer language code, right? So here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to walk you through some of my favorite software like this, favorite logic-based software that you can use. You don't have to use all of them. You could just find the best one or two that are right for the project that you want to build. So I'm going to walk you through some examples. Now, the first example and software that I really love is called Glide. Glide. You can see the name of the software at the bottom of the screen. And what Glide does is it allows you to take a spreadsheet and instantly turn your spreadsheet into an app. It's really kind of an all-purpose, does all things. Really, you have lots of flexibility to create whatever you want. And so you can have lists of things, you can have maps and charts and graphs. People can type information in and enter information in. You can click on the things on the list to see more information about it. You can have people do all sorts of things, profiles, all sorts of things, chat, anything that you can really think of here. And so Glide is a really cool tool for building your own app without coding, drag, drop, point, click, and then give it English instructions on what to do. Another software that I really love is called Mighty Networks. And Mighty Networks is really good at one specific thing. Mighty Networks allows you to create your own social network app. So while Glide, the last tool that I showed you, is kind of an all-purpose tool, Mighty Networks really has a specific focus, and it is to help you create your own social network app. So there's like a feed of everybody's posts, and people can follow each other and like each other, and there's profiles, and there's kind of a calendar of events that are going on, and you can search through and you get matched with people, sort of see different people in the directory, right? So Mighty Networks allows you to create your own social network app. Share Tribe is another really cool tool. Share Tribe allows you to create your own marketplace app where people can buy and sell things from each other. Think like Airbnb, right? So here's an example. You can see it on the screen, people buying and selling surfboards or renting surfboards from each other. But Share Tribe allows you to create your own marketplace app where people can buy and sell or rent things from each other. Thinkific is another really great tool. Thinkific allows you to create your own education app. So think like people have lessons and tutorials and videos and assignments where the main thing that your app does is teach people something, right? Quizzes, videos, all sorts of things like that. So Thinkific allows you to create your own education app. CloudMatch is another really cool tool. CloudMatch allows you to create your own Tinder style matching and recommendation app. So you can match people to people or people to things or people to places, but allows you to create your own matching and recommendation app. Stencil is another really cool tool as well. Stencil allows you to create your own video game app. So again, this app can be on iPhone, Android, or on the web, right? And again, all you have to do is drag, drop, point, click, and then give English instructions to create your own video game app. Here's an example of a video game that was created by someone just like me and you, who had never created an app before, who had never created a game before, but instantly created their own video game. So I just want to pause for a second and welcome you to the future. We are here. We are in it right now. We are in the future right now, right? Where your app idea is totally possible to be built using this new way, this new technique, where you drag, drop, point, click like you're making a PowerPoint, and then you tell the app what to do in English with English instructions, so you don't have to have all of this crazy computer knowledge in order to create it. So we are here in the future. And you can create all kinds of apps. Like you could create like a Yelp style app with like a listing, a directory of all kinds of resources. You could create a Fitbit style app where people can track things. You could create a Tinder style app where you can match people to things, people to people, people to places. You create an Airbnb style app where people can rent things from each other. You create an Uber style app where people can book a service and track any service, the progress of it. Or you could build a masterclass style app where people are learning things, lessons, videos, tutorials, right? So that is secret number 2. How to build an app yourself without a bunch of tech people. It is now possible. We are here in the future. Let me pause for a minute. You have a bunch of notes written down. Is this helpful? Okay, good. I really wanted to show you all the things that I've really discovered and encountered along the way to really help your journey out. So that's secret number 2, how to build an app yourself without any tech people. This is Lisa. Lisa is another entrepreneur I've had the pleasure of coaching. And after Lisa worked with me, she actually was on Shark Tank and she won $500,000 on Shark Tank with her idea and with the things that she had learned in working with me. Here's another example of someone posting that I've worked with, posting in the community. She says, oh my gosh, I was just blown away. I was contacted by an organization that saw the website for an app I'm creating. They asked if I would be interested in developing a completely unrelated app on their behalf. They want me to put together a proposal and develop their concept. I am speechless. You never know what opportunities present themselves when you put yourself out there. I'm mostly reminding myself, but I hope this post encourages you to keep going as well. You just never know, right? Talk about what happens when you put yourself into learning a new skill, something that you can totally do. The opportunities start coming your way. Right? So that was secret number 2, how to build the app. So thus far, we've talked about how to come up with an app idea and also how to build it. But now we got to talk about how to make money with this thing, because we want to turn this into a revenue generating opportunity for you, right? That's why we're here. And so secret number 3 is how to charge $50 a month or more for your app idea. So here's the thing about this. Most people, when they come up with an idea for an app, they assume that their app needs to be free or 99 cents, something like that, in order for it to work. Did you think that? Were you thinking that like your app should be free or 99 cents or maybe like $5, something like that? Please do not do that, or at least consider not doing that. Because here's the thing, if you do that, you're going to be broke for the next few years. You are welcome to do the math to calculate how many 99-cent payments you need at a time to pay your bills. It's a lot. It's a lot to pay your bills. Please don't do that to yourself. Okay, so quick reality check. Your app should not be free or 99 cents, or at least at minimum, you should consider an alternative. And we're gonna work through this in a little bit of this workshop. Because here's the problem. Let's say you wanna make $60,000 a year with this idea. Let's say that's something you wanna accomplish, right? If you charge 99 cents, what that means is that you need 60,606 new customers every single year to make this work. And what that means is you're going to have to bust your butt on marketing to get 60,000 people, new people every single year just to pay yourself. That's not even to like pay someone to help you or get an assistant or anything like that. That's just to pay yourself. You got to bust your butt on marketing. But what if you charge $50 a month? What if you charge $50 a month? Well, if you did that, you would only need 166 customers to make an extra $100,000 this year. 166 customers to make an extra $100,000 this year. So here's my question. I want you to write it down on your piece of paper. Which would you rather have? A business where you need 60,000 customers minimum to make it work, or where you need 166 customers minimum to make it work? Write it down on a piece of paper, which you would rather have. All right, which one? And of course, you can have more than this customers, but just what your minimum needs to be. Right. You would rather have 166 customers minimum to make this work. So my job in the rest of this workshop is to show you how to price your app so that you get paid what you're worth. Because here's the reality. Even the time that you're spending right now in this workshop, that's worth more than 99 cents. Your time is worth more than that 99 cents. So how are we going to get you paid what you're worth? The work that you've done to think this through, even what you've done in this class, right? So I want to introduce you to a concept called white labeling. Now, in my 8-week training program that I mentioned, where I help people more with their app ideas, we go through all kinds of different ways that you can make money with your app idea. I just want to pick one to show you and to highlight for you today. So it's called white labeling. You heard of white labeling before? White labeling the app for a business who will pay you. So here's how white labeling works. First of all, you ask yourself, what kinds of companies or organizations would want to have their own version of my app idea? What kinds of companies or organizations would want to have their own version of this app? And what you do is you design the app and you make a copy of it for the company or organization who wants to have their own version. And you take your logo off and you put their logo on. And you charge them money to essentially take credit, to have their logo on the app, to be able to say, hey, look at our cool app. You charge them money to take credit for it, to have their own custom app. And you say, listen, you can take credit for it if you want to, as long as you write me that big old check. That's what white labeling is. You find a company or organization who wants to have their own version of your app, you make a copy, take your logo off, put their logo on, and you charge them real money to have their own version of the app. So remember, I was telling you about Josh and his music app, the app to teach music classes. Well, at first, he assumed that he should charge parents for the app. Charge parents, their kids can use it. And he was planning to do like a $5 a month subscription, like $4.99, something like that. But then he asked himself, okay, hold on. What kinds of companies or organizations would want to have their own version of this app? He thought about it. And he was like, well, the schools would. The schools would like to have their own version of this app. And so he decided to charge the schools instead, which meant that instead of charging $5 at a time, he charges $5,000 per school at a time. And that's depending, it goes $5,000 and up, depending on how many students that they have at the school. There's a big difference between $5 in your bank account and $5,000 at a time in your bank account. It's a big difference, right? Because when you white label, your pricing starts at $3,000 a year, or if you want to split it up monthly, like over 12 months, it's about like $250 a year. Now, why in the world would anyone pay, any company pay this much money for an app? Why would they pay that? Well, let's think about it. What's their alternative? What's their alternative? The alternative is that they go to an agency and they have an app custom built for them, and that pricing is going to start at $20,000. So compared to $20,000, your $3,000 is a steal. And that's the cool thing about white labeling. So let me give you a couple more examples about how white labeling could work. Let's say you have an idea for an app to help homeless folks, get resources, right? Well, you could give it directly to homeless folks, but they probably don't have very much money to pay you. So you ask yourself, what kinds of companies or organizations would want to have their own version of this app? Can you think of any? What about like shelters, nonprofits, foundations that are out there that literally have money set aside to serve these populations? Some of them have millions of dollars in grant funding that they've received. So what you do is you take your app, you make a copy of it, take your logo off, put their logo on, and you give it to each shelter, each nonprofit, each organization. And you can do this for an unlimited number of organizations. It's not like you can only do it once. You can have 100 different organizations, 100 different nonprofits across the country that you've white labeled for. Right? And then you get to charge them $3,000 a year and up, depending. Okay, let me give you another example. Let's say you have an idea for a gardening app, an app that helps people know like when to plant their flowers and what fertilizer to use and how to care for them, right? Well, you could charge the everyday person, but the everyday person is not going to give you that much for that app. Maybe $5, maybe 99 cents, something like that. But then you ask yourself, well, wait a minute, what kinds of companies or organizations would want to have their own version of this app? Can you think of any? What about places like home improvement stores, like Home Depot, Lowe's, those sorts of stores, or even like those fancy plant nurseries where like the plants are really extra expensive for no reason, but it's kind of like a cool hipster thing to do. They would have their own app that people in the store could use, right? It would help them differentiate themselves as like a cool, innovative organization. And you can create a copy, take your logo off, put their logo on, and they get to have their own app. Let me give you one more example. Let's say you have an idea for a vision boarding app, an app that helps people do vision boarding. You could charge the everyday person, but they're probably not going to pay you much. So you ask yourself, what kinds of companies or organizations would want to have their own version of this app? And you think, well, what about life coaches? Life coaches, it's their job to help people sort out their life, plan the vision for their future. And so you make a copy of the app, take your logo off, put their logo on. You can offer it to a bunch of different life coaches, individual practices, right? And that's white labeling. So I want you to, on your piece of paper, I want you to write down this. I just want you to think for a second. What kinds of companies or organizations would want to have their own version of your app? I want you to write the answer to this question on your piece of paper. What kinds of companies or organizations would want to have their own version of your app idea? Just brainstorm it. Don't get too critical of the idea right now. Just kind of free form some ideas. Who might be interested in this? Because again, the cool thing about white labeling is that when you do this, your pricing starts at $3,000 a year per customer and goes up from there. If you want to do it monthly, you can too, $250 a month. Is this sparking some ideas for you? That is secret number 3, how to charge $50 a month or more for your app idea. Cool, right? So I just want to ask you a question. Is this helpful? Are you learning stuff? Is this kind of like getting some creative ideas flowing in your head? If so, here's a quick recap of what we've learned thus far, just to kind of go back. And then I have one more thing I want to talk to you about. Secret number 1, how to come up with a strong app idea in 15 minutes. We talked about the SMART idea formula, how to take something you already know something about and turn it into an app idea. Secret number 2, how to build an app yourself without hiring a bunch of tech people, without doing that expensive route, right? There's all these tools that you can use now. And secret number 3, how to charge $50 a month or more for your app idea. We talked about white labeling, where you can charge way more than $50, right? So if you are watching this and you're like, okay, she said that I was going to learn some stuff in this class, and I definitely did. I've got notes. This is my ideas are flowing. And you want to take this, the stuff that you've learned, to the next level. I want to talk to you about that, right? Because I don't want this to just be an academic exercise. You've got notes and you never look at the notes again. That would be a shame, right? So if you're thinking about, I want to take this to the next level, I want to talk to you about the program that I mentioned to you. It's the 8-week, 2-month, same thing, training program called Apps Without Code Bootcamp. And what it is it's an opportunity for us to work together on your app idea for 2 months. You get personalized coaching. There's video tutorials, step-by-step of exactly what you need to do. And this community that you need of other entrepreneurs to help you clarify your idea, build it, and make money from it, right? To be an entrepreneur, it takes initiative. right? If entrepreneurship were easy, everybody and their mama would already have $1 million company. What the differentiator is that people that actually step into this, they take initiative. And initiative means to act or take charge before it feels comfortable. That's what initiative is, before it feels comfortable. Right? You've got to jump before it feels comfortable. That's how entrepreneurship works. Anyone who tells you anything else is lying to you. It takes the initiative. So my question to you is, what if you could get my help and launch your app business in the next 60 days? Would you be in for that? Yeah. Or if you could have weekly coaching, that weekly access to a startup coach to help you along the way. So if you're going left, they'd be like, no, turn right, and get you back on track. Would you be in for that? Or if you could learn how to make your app a premium $50 a month or more experience, so you would only need 170 signups to make $100,000 this year, would you be in for that? So after that code bootcamp, this training program is all about helping you finally build that app idea that you've been stalling on. And I've put a link, you can still see the link here, to book a call with me and my team to talk about if After That Code Bootcamp is a good fit for you. I would love to talk this through with you, with me and my team. Because the bootcamp is also about getting a high quality app without spending a ton of time or a ton of money or taking so doggone long on getting going on this thing that someone else shows up with the idea because you took so long, right? So I want to just give you quickly the structure of the program, kind of how the program is designed and organized, just so you're really clear, so that when you book your call and you have your call, you know exactly what we're going to be talking about. So part one is the course. This is like where I put all the stuff I wish I knew when I was getting started. Step-by-step video lessons, tutorials, templates that you can use, and app guides. And this is what it looks like when you log inside. You're going to see each of the different steps that you need to take. You're going to click on the steps. This is a roadmap. Click on the step. It's going to tell you exactly what you need to do at each step. It's a clear roadmap and blueprint for you. Right? And we're going to be doing a handful of things over the course of the program. We're going to spend week one talking about pricing your app. Like, how much should you charge? Should you charge 99 cents? Should it be free? Should you do the white labeling thing? Like, how much should you charge for this thing? We're also in week one going to make sure that you have a solid app idea. So if you're feeling like, oh, I have kind of an idea, but I'm not really sure, we're going to spend week one on really making sure your idea is locked in solid. I'm going to throw at you some questions to make sure you've thought it all through. On week two, we're going to find your customers, figure out where on the internet they are, because we're not just going to do app building. We've also got to do marketing, right? We've got to figure out where these people are and figure out how to talk to them. On week three, we're going to pre-sell your app. We're going to get customers interested before you've even finished building, so that you have a wait list of people who are ready to go. And then we're going to spend week four on your website and your brand. And then we're going to spend weeks 5, 6, 7, and 8 actually building the app. All right, so here's kind of an overview of what's going to happen inside of the program. So that's part one, the course, the step-by-step blueprint of exactly what to do. Part two is the community. This is where you get this wolf pack of other successful entrepreneurs to help and support you, right? So here's a post of someone in the community saying, hey guys, about 90% to my launchable app. That's like MVP is what we call an app, minimum viable product. How about you? I was thinking we could test out each other's apps in a work session before we go public to our audiences, that we could troubleshoot real time. Maybe we could do it Sunday. So you've got these people helping you and supporting you. Let me tell you why this is important. This is so critical. You probably have people in your life who do not understand that you are an entrepreneurial thinker. They just don't get it. They're like, what? I don't understand why you think like that. Why you even want to do this entrepreneurship stuff? I don't get it. You have people in your life that are like that? The reality is that it takes a totally different mindset to be successful in a job than it does to be successful as an entrepreneur. And so you need to make sure you are around people who get this, who understand what it takes in entrepreneurship. And so that's why the community is so important. And then part three is my favorite part. You get your own startup coach. You have classes on Zoom. You open up your camera if you need to. You can share your screen. Hey, here's where I got stuck. Hey, I have a question. Can we talk this through? I kind of need to have workshop this. I'm a little stuck here. And you get your own startup coach to help you along the journey. This is Ashley. Ashley went through the program and she built an app for schools to hire athletic trainers. This is just something she knew something about, was what she did for work. And she started with just an idea. That was all she had. But since doing bootcamp, she has 50 customers. She's done $3,000, but she did all of that in 60 days. Came up with the idea, built the app, got customers on board in 60 days. This is what her app looks like. And so if you run a football team or a basketball team or any sports team, You can log into her app and put in information about the game that you have coming up. And her app will match you with an athletic trainer who can be there at the game. Just something she knew something about, something that's hard or time consuming about what she does in her work. And she created a whole business out of it. Right. So Ashley says, I cannot function successfully without structure. She knows herself, even if that means it will cost money. So from killing it in the gym with CrossFit to joining Apps Without Code Bootcamp, I do much better when I have a set plan to follow and an accountability group to check in with. Are you like that too? Were you like, if you do better with a set plan and accountability group? I know I do. If I don't have an accountability group, like I'm getting distracted, doing all kinds of stuff. So I know that I need to build that in for myself. You may have that same knowledge about yourself. Okay, let me show you one last person. This is Brittany. Brittany built an app for pharmaceutical companies to report drug side effects to the FDA. She just took something she did for work and she was like, listen, this is manual. Every single time I have to do this at work, it's manual. It's annoying. Right now, before doing bootcamp, she had tried to hire an agency to build the app for her. And she spent $30,000 trying to hire people to do it the traditional way. And she still had no app and no customers. After doing bootcamp, she had a finished app. She had 2 large customers because she did the white labeling route. And each of those customers pay her $10,000 a year. All right. So again, part 1 is the course, the step-by-step guide of your roadmap of what you need to do. Part 2 is the community, this wolf pack of other entrepreneurs to support you. And part 3 is that you get your own startup coach. You have live classes on Zoom, ask your questions, get help and support. So here's my question for you. I just want you to think about this. If Apps Without Code Bootcamp helped you create an app business where you could charge $50 a month or more for your app idea, so you only needed 170 customers to make $100,000 this year, would it be worth it? Or if it helped you build an audience and a wait list of customers, you've got a wait list before you're even done making the thing, would it be worth it? Or if it gave you weekly access to your own startup coach, so you weren't trying to figure this out on your own, you get to work with me and my team to actually bring this to life, would it be worth it? Or if it helped you not waste $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on hiring developers and marketers to help you, would it be worth it? Yes, you would have a whole business set up. You would be able to choose this time next year. You'd be like, hey, listen, like, I'm not coming back to work, y'all. Like, I'm doing my entrepreneurship thing. It's working. I'm over here. I'm gonna leave. All right. So again, to step into this, it takes initiative. Right. And to take initiative, you have to do it scared. A lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs are like, oh, okay, like I just got to wait until it feels comfortable, until it feels safe. Again, if everybody who was an entrepreneur, like if entrepreneurship looked like waiting until it felt good, felt safe, no one will be like, everybody would have $1 million business. It requires you to do it scared. That's what entrepreneurship literally takes. It's like the definition of entrepreneurship, right? An initiative that you have to take. So I know there's a question, and I think you probably might be thinking like, hey, you didn't tell me how much the bootcamp program costs. Can we talk about that? So yes, as you are booking your time, and I'll give you a second and a minute to book time with me and my team. In fact, I recommend you do it right now. I want to talk to you about how much the program costs. So again, the alternative, if you don't want to do it this way, the alternative is to hire an agency to build an app for you. And that cost is going to be $20,000 and up. You'll be very hard pressed to find under that. If it's under that, it's very rare, right? That you find it under that, right? But there's 2 options when it comes to working with me. And so I'll walk you through the 2 options, right? The first option is the full package. So the full package is where I'm going to build the app for you, and I'm going to teach you how to build it, to make changes to it yourself. And I'm also going to teach you marketing skills to get customers and make money from it. So the full package is where I'm going to build the app for you and I'm going to teach you. All right. It's both. The half package is I'm not going to build it for you. I'm just going to teach you. So you're going to build it. I'm just going to teach you what you need to do. So those are the 2 different options. Both of them, you're going to learn the app building skills, you're going to learn the marketing skills, but the main difference in the full package is there's more one-on-one, and I'm going to build the core of the app for you, and I'm going to teach you just how to make your own changes to it. The half package, it's less one-on-one. I'm not going to build it for you, but those are the 2 options, right? And the price for each of those options, first of all, does that make sense? Like what the 2 options are, how the 2 routes go? Either way, you're going to learn about how to navigate this. And the price for the two options ranges between $2,000 and $6,000, depending on what you want to do. Right. And so your next step, if this sounds like something that you want to consider, your next step is to schedule a call, schedule some time. Again, it's first come, first serve. So I'm going to pause for a second and let you do this, to schedule time with me and my team to talk about this to see if it's a fit. Right. Come join my 2022 Bootcamp class. And a couple things just to be clear, and then I want to show you, answer a couple questions and then show you what this looks like. My bootcamp promise is that we're going to do two things in the program. Number one, you're going to build the first version of your app. And when I say first version, what I mean is there are always like new versions of apps that can come out, right? Sometimes you see your phone, you have a notification. It's like, hey, Facebook has an update, right? Facebook continuously creates new versions. They make little tweaks as they go. So we're going to get the first version launched and out and in people's hands. And the bootcamp promise number two is you're going to learn a process for getting your first 100+ customers, right? So we're not just going to do app building. We're going to think about how to get customers and how you get people on board. Okay. I also have a refund guarantee. So if you do the work and you are not happy with the program after 7 days, I'm super happy to give you your money back. I just want to see you win. That's it. So there is a link for you to book time with me and my team. This is what it looks like when you click on the link. Let me go back. You'll be able to pick a time, a date and a time that works for you. And then you'll put in your name and email, kind of the phone number, and any quick questions just to help us prepare for this conversation. Cool. Okay. Now, as you are booking a time, I just want to answer a couple questions that are common questions that I get. And then any additional questions that you have, I want you to ask them on our phone call. Right. So any questions you have, that's what the phone call is for. But one common question, let me see if I can answer some things you might be thinking now. One common question that I get is, hey, who owns the app? Like who, if I build my app on one of these platforms that helps me build it without coding stuff, like, do I have full ownership of it? Like, how does the ownership and protection of my ownership work when you do this? It's a really good question. So here's how it works. I'll give you an analogy. Imagine that you were an author and you write books and you open up Microsoft Word to write your book. Microsoft does not own any of your book. You just happen to use their tool to write it, but they don't have any rights or ownership to your book. So it works the same exact way, right? You're going to use these tools. The tool does not have any ownership stake in your business. You just use the tool for it. Another question that I commonly get is, how much do these tools cost? Like, are they really expensive? Are they cheap? How do they work? In the bootcamp program, we're actually going to build your entire app on the free plan. But once it's time to actually hit publish, you may want to consider one of the paid plans. The paid plans range from, depending on the tool, from $20 a month to maybe like, I think the most expensive one's like $80 a month, depending on which tool you choose. And so there's that range, but that sure beats spending $20,000 to build this thing. So we'll take it, right? The monthly subscription. Another question that I commonly get is, how do I legally protect my app idea? And again, I'm just answering some of the common questions that come up as you are booking your call and time for us to talk in more detail. But another common question that I get is, well, how do I legally protect my app idea? This is actually something that I ended up paying lawyers a lot of money to explain to me. And I'm going to help you with this information so you don't have to pay lawyers to explain this to you. Here's how this works. I thought actually that I could, when I came up with an idea, I could legally protect that app idea as soon as I come up with the idea. It doesn't work that way. So if you go and you want to file paperwork to protect your app idea, in the paperwork, they're going to ask you for a link to what you've made. So you have to actually have something that you've made in order to protect, which is why in Bootcamp, we're going to actually first get you something created. We're going to get it built. And then I'll show you kind of how you can do this process of legally protecting your app idea. And there are actually law firms that will do this work for you, the legal protection of your app idea, for free. Why would they do it for free? Well, they're doing it for free because they're hoping that your app is going to blow up. And so if they give you a certain number of hours for free and you like working with them, you'll continue working with them, of course, on their paid rate. Once your app is working and making money, you'll want to stay with them. And so that's why they do it. But I've used programs like this to really get everything set up during the free part. And so what we first have to do is actually build the things so that we can go through that process. But that's how that works. Another common question that I often get or concern is like, okay, what happens if I find another company out on the internet that's doing something similar to what I want to do? Like, should that stop me? Should I, move to a different app idea? Like, what do I do if I see someone else doing something kind of similar? This is a really good and common question. I just want to talk about it for a second, because here's the thing. For some reason in tech, we assume that there can only be one of something, but there's literally no other industry where that's the case. Imagine someone being like, I don't want to start a hair salon because there's already a hair salon in Atlanta. It doesn't make sense. There's like plenty of room. Or I don't want to start a bakery because there's already a bakery in New York. When you go down the bread aisle in the grocery store, there's all kinds of brands. And that's true for tech too. There's Uber and there's Lyft. There's Airbnb and there's VRBO. There's never just one. And so what's going to be important for you is to put your unique spin on it, your unique approach on it, right? And I'll show you how to do this in the 8-week bootcamp program, but I wouldn't get flustered if there's more than one that you see, or you see a competitor out there. I wouldn't get stressed about that. For some reason, people get really stressed about, oh, no one can know my idea. I can't tell anyone about it because someone else might. Like, get out of that. First of all, there's probably already someone else working on something similar. I'm not even that smart that I come up with ideas that no one has ever thought of, right? However, I would argue that if you can't find anyone doing anything close to what you want to do, you should be concerned because maybe there's not a market for it, right? So if you find something out there, don't panic about it. Your question should be, well, what's the unique spin I want to put on mine? Right? What's the unique spin and unique twist that I'm going to take? And those are going to be things that are uniquely you, that you're uniquely positioned to add. And that's fine. Okay, I know one last question that I commonly get are, when are the classes for bootcamp? Can you talk about when classes are? Like, when am I going to have my class? So what's going to happen is when you get signed up for bootcamp, you're going to be given a calendar and you're with all the classes, the class times and class options, and you're going to get to choose your own schedule. All the classes, the classes are only on weekends or evenings, and you can choose what works best for you. But the reason that is because I know you got a lot going on, right? And it's likely that you're going to be doing double duty for a little while, maybe working on things that you already have, plus this new business idea. And so for that reason, all the class options are either on the evening or the weekend so that it fits into your schedule, and you can just look at the dates to pick the date that works for you. Again, I know another common question is, what's the difference between the half package and the full package? Can you say that again? The full package is where I'm going to build the app for you. There's one-on-one coaching, and I'm going to teach you how to make changes to the app, how to build apps, how to market them. The half package is, I'm not going to build it for you. I'm just going to teach you. So it's not as much one-on-one, but you're going to learn all the important things that you need, and it's app building and marketing. So that's the difference between the two packages. And I recommend that you have this conversation, because I know you're getting booked and you're getting your time scheduled right now. I recommend that you have this conversation when we get on the phone with me and my team about like which of the options are best for you. Cool. Okay. We're going to wrap up. I hope you have a page full of notes. I hope you got a lot of value. I hope you had fun as I got to pour into you and you kind of got to exchange energy for a minute. And I'm really excited for our phone call. We're going to talk soon. Okay. I will talk to you very shortly. Have a good one. If you have not already clicked on this link to book a call, click on it now, because I'm getting ready to close the class. You got it? You got it? Okay. All right. I will talk to you soon. Have a very good one. Bye.